So why are people buying the Smith Wesson M&P 9? Well, I think it's at a really solid price point and it's a really refined handgun. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd appreciate a subscribe. We're trying to hit 10,000 subs and every little bit helps. Starting at the top of this build, we have a Holosun 508T. I like this red dot a lot. It's got the titanium housing and the solar panel. I have had no issues with this. It fits the slide pretty good. There's a little bit of overhang. But all in all, I think it's like the perfect size red dot for this pistol. One of the downsides with this pistol is there's not a lot of aftermarket accessories, so we're running a Tribe Defense threaded barrel. We've had pretty good luck with this, no reliability issues or QC issues, so we like it a lot, but there's not a lot of options to choose from. Obviously, we have our Herrington Arms HCMP compensator on there. That helps a lot with recoil. Both the linear felt recoil in your hand and the muzzle flip. We actually have a bunch of the HCMPs on the site right now, which is surprising. We're usually out of stock in most of our models. If you need a threaded barrel for the HCMP for your Smith & Wesson, Optics Planet actually has these in stock. So if you're looking for a barrel, there's not too many places to get them, but you can go to Optics Planet and get one. The compensator does make a pretty big difference in felt recoil with this gun, so I definitely recommend it if you're looking to add more options to your M&P. One thing I really like about the M&P is the slide serrations. They are very aggressive, both front and back. So you're never gonna slide off when you're trying to manipulate the slide or doing press checks. It makes it really easy. One thing you're gonna see with this pistol is everything is pretty well refined and pretty coarse, so it's gonna be good for harsh environments, whether it's snow, rain, cold, whatever. You're not gonna have an issue manipulating this handgun or gripping this handgun. They did put suppressor height sights on here. I'm not a huge fan of suppressor height sights. They just kind of get in the way of my optic. Moving our way down the handgun, obviously we have the 2.0 trigger on here. This is significantly better than the 1.0 M&P. I hated the first rendition. This is probably one of the better striker fired pistol triggers. It's not as good as like the Walther PDP, but it is still pretty good. The little safety on here is very comfortable. It's not obtrusive. It has a pretty light trigger pull and a nice tactile reset. The reset is quite audible. It kind of pushes your finger forward and you don't feel the click as much as some of the other striker fired guns on the market. Nevertheless, it's still a big improvement over the 1.0. One thing that Smith & Wesson did on this is they put a nice big radius on this slide lock, slide release, and I like it a lot. It makes it very easy to find it. The only downside of that is when you're shooting, your support hand may kind of ride it, and then you don't get slide lock when you're shooting. Sometimes it is really nice when you actually do get slide lock, you do a reload, there's this nice big extended, if you will, slide lock, slide release. On here, we are trying the Holosun PID weapon light. We've actually got a video comparing this light to other lights that we like. It is a brick, it is very heavy. It makes the front of this gun feel kind of unbalanced, but it is a little bit better than the TLR1, but not quite as good as the Turbo, the X300 Turbo. So what you pay with in weight, you do get some benefit, so keep that in mind if you are looking at this weapon light. It definitely does not help the balance of this handgun. It does help with recoil, but not the balance. If you're comparing this gun to other guns that are similar, like the 320 and the Glock 19, this does have a nicer mag release. It's very positive. It just shoots the mag right out. So that is one pro of this gun, is you don't have to worry about an empty mag sticking or doing the Glock flip, if you will. Again, another more refined feature from Smith & Wesson. One thing I do like about the M&P here is the adjustable backstrap system. You just pull this pin out and then you can slide this whole unit, and it'll allow you to change from small, medium, and large backstrap, if you will. And it will make a difference in the feel of the handgun. And it's not like other brands don't do this. Glock does do this. However, I think Smith & Wesson executed this better. It's a little more seamless, whereas Glock just kind of feels like a chunk of plastic on the back of the handgun. This is a lot more integrated, feels a lot nicer. However, even with small, it still feels pretty wide to me. I would actually prefer something a little bit smaller. Nonetheless, you can change this out, so if you have very large hands, you're not having just a hump of plastic on the back. You're gonna get something that, again, is a little more refined. One thing you might notice if you've seen this gun online or you go pick it up at a gun shop is the grip texture. It is incredibly coarse. It feels like 80 grit sandpaper, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you have little baby hands, it might hurt a little bit if you shoot a lot. But for me, I actually enjoy it quite a bit. I don't know if I'd want to carry this appendix and have it rubbing on my belly all day without an undershirt on, but it is very nice for going to the range or like a duty gun, something that is not in contact with your skin. One thing to keep in mind with the frame of this is you definitely want to hold this gun in person. If you get the chance, and feel the ergonomics, feel the grip texture. I'm not a huge fan of the ergonomics. It kind of feels ovally, kind of reminds me of the Shield, which makes sense. It's kind of the big brother. So not my favorite ergos, but not the worst either. I've felt handguns that felt much worse. I do have a little bit of a hot spot right here on the beaver tail. I feel like I wish they had removed some more material here. It kind of forces my hand to not quite sit up as high as I would like it. I think the pull feels really good on this. It's a little shallow. The 320 or the 365 feels a little better to me, but definitely go handle this handgun. Both the grip texture and the ergonomics may either sway you towards this or against. And I feel like that's why you see this gun a lot more, is it just feels different than a lot of other guns on the market. So it's gonna be a little more polarizing. Some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it. You're just gonna have to handle it in person and see exactly what it feels like. I could talk about it all day, but unless you actually hold this gun and see if you're gonna like the grip texture or the ergonomics or the trigger, you're not actually gonna know which way to go with this. If you're looking at the M&P 2.0, you're obviously gonna be comparing it to other striker-fired handguns in the market. It's gonna come in about $100 cheaper than a Glock 19 MOS, and about $150 cheaper than a P320 X Compact. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this gun. It's gonna be a little bit cheaper, which is gonna be great. It's gonna allow you to add more accessories. All in all, I think this is a really great buy. You're not sacrificing quality. You're getting a name brand firearm manufacturer. Everything seems pretty well thought out. There's really not too many cons I can say about the Smith Wesson. So that's why I think it's a pretty good buy for the price. It's honestly a pretty great starter handgun for somebody who wants to get into the compact market and not pay an arm and a leg. Something that's optic cut, holds 15 rounds, has great grip texture, great slide serrations. So that brings me to my last question. Who is this handgun for? I think it's for the new shooter that doesn't want to buy a lower quality handgun and still get a name brand firearm with great reliability, great track record, and not sacrificing too many things. Really what it comes down to is, are you into the aggressiveness of the grip texture? Are you into the ergonomics? I'm not gonna be able to answer that for you. You're gonna have to go to a gun range and figure that out for yourself. If you want something that is this aggressive, this is probably the perfect setup for you. And you're not sacrificing anything. You're getting a pretty good trigger. It's optics cut, checks a lot of boxes, but is different than the other handguns on the market. If you guys learned something, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.